All right, welcome everybody today to today's webinar. We are going to discuss how to apply as a transfer student. This is general information for anybody that has a lot of transfer credits and is really kind of considering how you can leverage those towards your degree program. So today's presenters, I have myself, Simona Beatty. I'm going to be your moderator and offer you some information. And with me is Donna Davis. We have Associate Director of Admissions, and she's also the Admissions Counsel for our undergraduate program. So a wealth of information there. So we're going to start off with, here's what we plan to cover today. Some things to consider before applying, especially as a transfer credit student. Then how to leverage your transfer credit towards your degree. We'll give you a little bit of an admissions overview, things to kind of know about the admissions process, whether you're considering Marylhurst or any other university. And then some additional resources that you may just want to look up in your free time as you're kind of making your decisions. So one thing to note, we are recording this webinar, so you will receive a copy following this presentation. And feel free to save your questions until the end because we do have a Q&A, but we're going to go a little bit through some information first. So starting off with, things to consider before applying. So you've made the decision to go back to school to finish your bachelor's degree, and there's some things that you should really look at when you're comparing universities. Start with really having clarity around your career goals. Why are you trying to go back to school? What is it that you want to accomplish? So you kind of know what career path you want. And therefore, it makes it easier to then consider degree programs that will get you to that career path. So as you're kind of looking at programs, you want to look at the specific degree requirements for a particular degree. So for example, how many credits will you need to graduate? For universities that are on a quarter-term system, which is what Marylhurst is on, most of the time an undergraduate bachelor's degree is about 180 credits. That is the average. There are those that are more. There are probably none that are less. So about 180 credits. Now when you're a transfer student, that means you have credits from elsewhere that might be able to apply towards your degree program. So this is a huge benefit to you and a kind of a huge pro, because you'll be able to finish a little bit faster if you can transfer those credits in. So the other things to consider, I'm just going down the list, essentially is the course schedule and format. So thanks to technology, we now have online degree programs, lots of ways to sort of complete your degree outside of the traditional sense of going to class during the daytime. And there are lots of universities such as Marylhurst that offer those options for, especially for adult learners, so working professionals, parents, those that have, busy schedules and limited time to go to a sort of an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. degree program. So look at the course schedule, see what format is available, and does that meet what you'll be able to do over the years that you're going to be completing your degree program. Another area to look at is when does the program start? So a lot of universities like Marylhurst, we offer for start times a year. So you can start winter, spring, summer, or fall. Some universities only start in the fall term. So really look at your degree and when you're able to start next. So you kind of have a timeline of how soon you're going to need to get your application materials together. And then of course, big considerations are university reputation. Look at whether or not a university is regionally accredited. We are accredited by the Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities. That is a major deal, because it also means if you decide to pursue your education elsewhere outside of Marylhurst, that will impact how your credits transfer. And then faculty excellence, obviously you would like to know who's teaching you. And then university services, a lot of students don't, they look at what am I going to learn, how are my classes scheduled, kind of the nuts and bolts of being a student. But a big part of that is the support system that goes into being a student. Look at whether or not university has academic advising. Most should, almost 100% should have academic advising. And then also career services, especially if you're a transfer student and you're looking at your career options. Look at the support system that a university offers around your career networking and internships, support after you are a graduate of a university. For example, our alumni relations here at Marylhurst does an amazing job of connecting our students with potential employers, and just general student support. Okay. So moving a little bit forward, the other big consideration before applying is the cost. This is just kind of a little bit of advice. Make sure that you are looking at the total cost of attendance, and universities will list this in different ways. Some will list purely per credit, So how much does, say, it cost by the credit? So most courses are between 3 to 4 credits at universities. So look at that. Some will give you the total cost of the entire program, so they'll estimate that it may take you 4 years to complete. They'll do the math based on their current tuition rates and give you kind of a big total. Really dive deep into that total because it may not include everything in it. So another area to look at is fees. A lot of universities charge additional fees on top of courses. They might have student fees, for example, if they have a gym or a rec center or student services such as the health center. Those all add up into fees that you may need to pay as a student on an annual or quarterly basis. And then of course consider other expenses. So, there is a cost to attending as a student. For example, you may have to work part-time now. You may not be able to work full-time. So that may be a consideration. Your time may be a consideration. You know that you're going to be spending time on coursework, homework, group projects, things like that. So that may be a time expense to you. The commute to a school might be an expense to you. You're looking at gas and things like that. So really start to jot down what are the possible expenses, and then go to university websites and look up cost of attendance. All right. So before I turn it over to Donna, just a few more things. So of course with cost of attendance, the biggest question we get is what are the financial options? And I went ahead and listed kind of the big 3 areas to look at. And transfer credits we'll get into on the next slide because that is actually a financial advantage to you to have transfer credits that transfer into university. But other things to consider is credit for prior learning, and we'll also get into that in the next one. How easy is it to transfer, say, from a community college to an institution? That's something you might want to consider. And then in the traditional financial aid sense, you have grants, scholarship, work study, and loans. And what I advise you, if you want to know more about financial aid, we do have a wonderful Financial Aid 101 video on our YouTube channel. Simply go to the channel listed on the bottom there, look up Marylhurst University, and watch Financial Aid 101. Our Director of Financial Services went through and did just an amazing job of kind of giving you tips and advice of what you can consider, what you might be eligible for, when you should be applying for financial aid, and kind of what all things that you need to be asking your financial aid office when you're getting ready to apply. And another area to look at with any university is, do they have payment options? So for example, at Marylhurst, you can go on a tuition payment plan. That means you're not paying the bulk of your tuition in one sum. You can spread them out over a monthly payments or quarterly payments. So there's different options available. So that's something that you might want to ask any university. Do they offer those sort of plans? All right, so enough of me talking. I'm going to turn it over to Donna, who, just as a heads up, is a little sick. So she's
sorry.
Not a problem. So hopefully we can get through this and not have her cough too much. So, so we're going to talk about leveraging your transfer credit. Okay.
All right. Well, at Marylhurst, for sure, we love to see unofficial transcripts right up front, and we have an email address listed later in the webinar that we would welcome you to send those. But a lot of schools are starting to realize that this is a great service to be able to take a sneak peek at what you've already done, and maybe you've got transcripts tucked away in a drawer somewhere from past schools. We'll look at those and figure out how they'll transfer into whatever degree program you're thinking about. As Simona said, it really gives you a head start in terms of finishing your degree sooner, and some schools have timelines to which anything previous to a certain date they'll not accept. And I know at Marylhurst we've had a very generous transfer policy that honors coursework that's done, from a long time ago. So that's something to think about too. Along the lines of the choices and things to look at too, a private school versus a state school can make a difference in what they're allowed to consider for transfer credit. So, and again, that touches on articulation agreements we have with honoring credits from, for example, the community colleges in the area, or other special agreements. So I know Marylhurst has some, what I would consider more special, unique agreements to honor coursework that's completed outside of you might expect. So we look at all kinds of possibilities to be able to transfer and honor what you've done in the past, and as a strong transfer institution, help you finish in the shortest amount of time and the most meaningful time, based on your choice of degree.
Great. So one of the tips we have on here is credit for prior learning. Do you want to talk about what that is?
I love the prior learning program at Marylhurst, and more and more schools are offering this now, where there are methods of looking at life experience and learning that comes from that life experience, not just saying, well, I did this, I did that, I traveled here, I did that, here's my resume. Not just transferring credit for that, but demonstrating your knowledge through those experiences, the learning that occurred through those experiences. So a lot of us have learning that occurred outside of a traditional classroom, and prior learning is designed to really honor that type of learning and apply it toward a degree plan. A lot of times, prior learning credits are most useful to someone who's coming back after maybe being out of school for a while, or just having a few credits, under 50 credits maybe. And then it's amazing to see how your life learning can contribute toward the degree plan. There's methods of writing essays, there's testing options, so there's a lot of different ways to go about doing that. Even a portfolio option for those who have more artistic, creative backgrounds. So it's worth looking at and asking us about that.
Great. And again, to reiterate, with transfer credit, the reason why transfer credit is so valuable as far as being transferred in is that it does cover degree requirements that you might need. So again, the more transfer credits that an institution can take in, that means that you're that much closer to completing your degree and at that much less of a cost.
Right.
Because you're not paying for those courses that you transferred into the institution.
Right.
All right. So one biggest advice we always say is meet with an admissions counselor. Why is that, Donna?
Yeah, well, I told Simona, not just call, but we want to meet with you either by phone if you're at a distance, or if you're closer by, we want to meet with you in person to really talk about what you need to be successful in school and to get this done and to meet your goals, and have somebody to talk about it. Oftentimes we'll meet with a student, again, by phone or in person, and they'll think that they're on track to choose a certain degree plan to get them to their ultimate career goal or life goal. And in fact, maybe there's something that would even better serve their plan. And it doesn't come out until we're actually kind of discussing this on a bigger scale. So it's really helpful to have more of that counselor relationship. And so I know at Marylhurst we really value having that time to talk about your goals and maybe suggest some things you might not even know exist, which is like so cool.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then we listed some sample questions. This is kind of like the same way you would consider like questions you should ask your doctor. So here's some sort of things that when you are ready to meet with an admissions counselor, here's some starter questions to get your conversation going.
Yeah, good point. Definitely. When is the next start, or when do you feel your life can allow you to start? Definitely, what are the requirements to get started? And we always offer tours and so forth. We have some information sessions coming up too on Monday at Marylhurst. Anyway, on Monday the 15th of September, we've got a transfer day event from 11 to 1:30 with lunch served. And gosh, if any of you are interested in coming, you could RSVP for that. And then we always have a quarterly information session, which our next one comes up on the Saturday the 27th of February.
Mm-hmm. And those are very, most universities will hold those because they do want you to come get a sense of campus, meet faculty, meet staff, and meet other prospective students that are maybe going into your program. So you really get a good sense of what university you're about to embark on. All right, so we wanted to give kind of an admissions overview for most universities. Now this will be applicable to just about the majority of the universities, but some have some different quirks. So that's why we say, always, contact the Office of Admissions just to make sure before you start the application process.
Yeah, typically I think nowadays everybody has an online application form. There is a fee. Sometimes ask about if there's a fee waiver. There's certain ways that you can um, obtain an application fee waiver. Usually schools will always ask for all previous schools attended official transcripts from any of those schools so that they can prepare an evaluation that really honors every possible transfer credit. So sometimes there are supplemental applications. I know at Marylhurst our music and interior design programs require additional specific information to those areas, um, beforehand.
And that's everything an admissions counselor can help you with, to kind of make sure you have the right checklist for the degree program that you want to get into so that you are accomplishing your application accurately and obviously on time. So that's the biggest tip that we have, is to apply early, because there are nuances to the application, and you want to make sure that you apply with plenty of time to account for that, and also to make sure that you are admitted in enough time to be ready to start your courses. And that's everything from ordering textbooks to make sure, especially if you're going to be an online student, that is a big component. Make sure that your textbooks can ship to your house and that you're ready to go on the day one of your courses. And also to make sure that you get into the classes that you need. Classes do fill up. So the earlier that you are ready to go and that you're able to register for courses, the better.
One more thing, Simona, I'd add to an early application is if a student is planning to use financial aid, so many of those first deadlines start to show up on March 1 of the year. So getting your application completed so that you can then complete the financial aid documents and be considered for the best and the most options in terms of money to go to school is really important. And so those financial aid deadlines are important.
So that pretty much concludes sort of the formal portion of our presentation, just essentially giving you a really big overview of transfer, if you're coming in as a transfer student. Again, universities may be unique from each other, but majority of them sort of follow a similar process when it comes to transfer students. So I was going to see if there were any questions. One I think we touched upon, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it here, which is, what if I do have transfer credits from 30 years ago? Should I completely exclude those, or should I include them in my evaluation process?
Yes, I say yes. We want to see those transcripts, and the schools will have those transcripts on file for years ago. A lot of times people think, oh, that was so long ago. No, by law, they're required to have those documents saved. So we want to see everything. It's all required. Same with military transcripts, ACE transcripts. Oh my gosh, there's so many different kinds of, again, that falls in prior learning, but there's so much to consider.
So we would say before, as you're considering going back to school, start pulling those documents together, have them ready to go, kind of what we talked about in the first few slides, in your process of considering which degree programs or which university, kind of have those documents ready to go so you can have these deeper conversations to make sure that, one, the degree program is the right fit for you and that you are the right fit for the university as well. So those are all things that, we love to talk to students about. And Donna, just kind of a crazy question. So what if I'm considering another university than Marylhurst? Can I call your office just to get advice?
Sure. I think that people do that all the time. We're here to help you find the right fit. And so if we can be of help, we'll try. We don't advise according to what other schools do by any means, but we have colleagues and friends amongst many of the institutions in our area and across the country, and so we may know someone to even touch base with directly. So sure, I think we're open to having that conversation.
Great. So I'm not seeing a lot of questions, so I wanted to go ahead and start pointing you to additional resources. So these are all on our website. The Marylhurst website actually has a lot of resources, whether or not you're considering attending here or at another university, just some great one-on-one type of information when you are thinking about becoming a student again, and especially about transferring. A great place to start is the admissions website, so marylhurst.edu/admissions. If you're looking at just information about transfer credits and just some things to be looking at. And then I wanted to go ahead, in case you were interested in Marylhurst in particular, is to, if you wanted that transcript credit evaluation, and talk to Donna, this is where you get the process started. So email transcripteval@marylhurst.edu. If you can email your unofficial transcripts, do that, but that's kind of how you get that process started. And of course, if you are just looking for advice, admissions@marylhurst.edu, feel free to reach out to us. We are more than happy to answer your questions or direct you toward appropriate resources for that. So again, everybody will receive a copy of this video, and since I'm not seeing any more questions, we're going to go ahead and complete this webinar. So we want to just say a big thank you for watching, and we hope to have conversations with you soon.
Thank you, everybody.